Okay, in this assignment we're going to be putting various expressions into factored form. Okay, the first expression, 15x second minus 30x. Now you don't put x equals, it's not an equation. Okay, you can't solve for x without an equation. You're putting it into as many parentheses as you can and you're done. So you have 15x to the second power minus 30x. So there's two terms, it's a binomial. Okay. So if you have two terms, you go GCF. You're going to be doing GCF whether there's two or three. And then if there's two terms, the second thing you check for is if you have a difference of perfect squares. Okay, so I have x on the end. We have to factor x out. We don't have a negative in front. Then 15 and 30 is in 15's row. So 15x is going to be my GCF. So you bring your 15 up, first divide by it, but divide by the entire expression 15x. So 15 divided by 15 is 1. X second divided by x, remember how that's done. It's x times x divided by x. Get a cancellation, but we have an x remainder. Negative 30 divided by 15 is negative 2, and then x divided by x is a complete wipeout. Okay, so you bring over your 15x GCF. Now before you go to the dots, you get rid of this and this, and this is what you're checking for, the 1x minus 2. Now you have a minus, so the minus has to be there for it to be a dots, for you to even consider it, okay? So the 1 can be dropped off the x. I know that's 1 times 1, but we don't need the 1 if it's in front of the x. Now x without remember, x seconds, x times x. X without a power is not a perfect square, okay? So if you can't write that as a perfect square, you put no, and then you put the parentheses x minus 2 right beside it. So this if you can't do the dots, you just go with that parentheses there beside it. Okay, negative 2x to the second plus 50. Again, it's two terms. Two terms is called a binomial. So GCF. And then difference of perfect squares. Okay, so we don't have x on the end this time. We have the negative in front, and then 2 and 50. So 2 and 50 are both in the second row, so we need to factor out 2 with the negative. So we go up and divide by negative 2. So negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. Now we're not putting an x under there, so it will stay x to the second. Then positive 50 divided by negative 2 is negative 25, so you express that negative 25 as a minus 25. Plus negative, don't do that, put minus. Okay, so you put the negative 2, you factor it out, and then you cross that out, cross this out, and now we're looking here. So we have the minus. If x has a coefficient of 1, we don't need it. X to the second is x times x. And 25 is 5 times 5. So yeah, that's a difference, and these are two perfect squares. So instead of writing this beside it, we write these two parentheses beside it. Because we have replaced this with this. Here we weren't able to replace that. Okay, next problem. X to the second power minus 5x minus 36. So that's 3 terms. Now that we're doing 3 terms, it's GCF. And then the big table. Remember, we got to find, after we find the mystery numbers in the table, we got to know what A is. So there's no x, there's no negative in front. 1, 5, and 36 is 1, so we will not be doing that. So A, B, C. So I find the A times C product, positive 1 times negative 36. Well, that's going to be negative 36. So that's a mismatch. Okay. The fact to multiply two, we're trying to find two numbers that multiply to negative 36. To multiply to a negative, you need a positive and a negative. That's what mismatch means. And the two factors have to add to the b, which is -5. So 36 divided by 1 is 36. Add those, it's -35. That's way wide. 36 divided by 2 is 18. That's -16. That's way wide. 36 divided by 3 is 12. That's -9. That's wide of -5. 36 divided by 4 is 9. 4 plus -9 is -5. Okay, so you put in your parentheses, and you put the mystery numbers in, the +4 and the -9. Now the a, here's the a, it's x second, and the multiplier, it's multiplied by a 1. So the x is second, we know goes into x times x. And then we take that 1 and apply it as a coefficient in front of each x. Now 1x and 4 you can't really simplify because dividing would only be in the row of 1. So you can divide it by 1, but it's just going to stay the same. Take the 1 off the front of the x. 1 and 9 are just in the 1 row. Okay, so you can divide by 1, but it's not going to change it. It's just going to drop down in the same thing. Okay, so we delete those, and we have x plus 4 times x minus 9. Okay, 7x to the second power minus 17x plus 6. So we see 3 terms. So that'll be GCF. And then the t table. No x on the end, no negative in front. 7, 17, and 6. I think it's just 1, so we would not. So ABC. 7 times 6 is 42. This time it's positive. The AC product is positive. So now we're trying to come up with two numbers that multiply to a positive, which means the signs have to match. You can either put double negative or double positive. I usually start with double negative, and I'll switch to double. I'm not going to have to switch to double positive because I'm trying to add to negative 17. Okay. A equals 42 divided by 1 is 42. That's negative 43, too wide. 42 divided by 2 is 21. That's negative 23. You're still too wide. 42 divided by 3 is 14. That's negative 17. Bingo. Okay. Now, A is 7x to the second power. Now I'm going to explain. Let's go back and look up here, okay? See, I had 1's in front of these x's. 1 times 1 is 1, and boom, that's what's in front of x second. 4 times negative 9 is negative 36, so that's right. Now, you're going to put x times x, and then you have to apply the 7, okay? Now that's not right. That's why you got to simplify it, because you see 7 times 7 is 49. That's not what we have in front of x to the second. Negative 3 times negative 14 is positive 42, and that's not what our c is. That's why you have to simplify it by dividing by the common factor in each parenthesis. So 7 and 3, the common factor is just 1. Okay? So you can divide by 1, but it'll just stay 7x minus 3. Then 7 and 14 are both in the 7th row, so that needs to be divided by 7, 1x minus 2. Now, look in front of the x's. Multiply the numbers in front of the x's. 7 times 1 is 7. That should be what's in front of the x second. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6, and that's what the c is, so that's right. Take the 1 off the front of the x. You keep the 7, but you don't need the 1. Okay, and then our last problem here. 12x to the second power minus 24x minus 15. So it's a trinomial again, so 3 terms, so GCF. And then we do our t-table. So x on the end, I think not. Negative in front, no. 12, 24, and 15. Okay. That'd be 3. Okay, they're all in the third row, but just 3, not 3x. Okay, 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now I'm not putting an x down there, so that stays x to the second. Negative 24 divided by 3 is negative 8. I'm not putting an x, so it stays 8x. Negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. Okay. Now, before you go to your t-table, you bring your 3 over. You delete that, you delete the original, and this is where we're at now. 4x to the second minus 8x minus 5, and that's my ABC. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. So that's a mismatch. Positive, negative. We were trying to add to get to negative 8. 20 divided by 1 is 20. That's negative 19. That's way wide. 20 divided by 2 is 10. That's negative 8 right there. So we have it. Okay. So you put in your mystery numbers. And then your a, your x second coefficient, is multiplied by 4. So we still rewrite the x as x times x. Now, one thing I'll have a lot of people do is they'll write that 4 as 2 times 2. No, you're not doing perfect squares. That's not how a trinomial works. You place the 4 in front. You don't change it. Again, they need to be simplified. 4 and 2 are both in row 2. 2 would be the greatest common factor. 2x plus 1. 4 and 10 are both in the second row, so 2 is the greatest common factor there. So 2x minus 5. Now, multiply the numbers in front of the x's. 2 times 2 is 4, bingo. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5, bingo. Now, if you did the FOIL, you'd get the negative 8x in the middle, and there's your factoring.